Welcome to RGES Algebra 1, Lesson 27, Part 2. We're continuing in instructing Section 11.5, adding and subtracting rational expressions. So I'm going to go on with the second example in your text. Because our denominator is already a common denominator, the new numerator becomes 5x minus 5y over x minus y. You'd be tempted to think you were finished, but you notice that this can be factored. So that equals 5 times x minus y. So factoring is so critical. I can't expand it, and we're viewing the denominator. I cannot overemphasize it. We're viewing that denominator as a parenthesis, so this binomial can cancel with this binomial, and my final answer is 5. Let's look at another example. I must have a common denominator. Right now I only have this and this. They share nothing in common, so I'll take this denominator. I'll just do it this way. The common denominator will be the binomial x minus 7 times the binomial x minus 1. For my first fraction, I need to view this as a grouping, I've already got my x minus 7, so I need to multiply the x plus 3 times the x minus 1, because that's what I'm missing on the first denominator. On my second denominator, I've got the x minus 1, I need the x minus 7. And so I've got my plus sign. My numerator is x minus 2 with multiplied by what I'm missing in my denominator to get a common denominator, my x minus 7. Is that clear to you? Okay, so that gives them both the common denominator. Okay, so if I multiply the numerator here by x minus 1 and the numerator here by x minus 7, they will both have a denominator of x minus 7 times x minus 1. Now I'm not finished. I have to do my FOIL here, and gather any like terms. So this will equal x plus 3 times x minus 1 would be x squared plus 3x minus 1x is plus 2x. 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. That's this grouping here. Adding x squared minus 2 minus 7 is minus 9x plus 14. Now we have to gather all those like terms all over x minus 7 times x minus 1. So gathering now like terms, I've got x squared plus x squared, or 2x squared. I've got plus 2x minus 9x, or negative 7x. And I've got minus 3 plus 14, or plus 11. I could either leave this like that or expand it, either one. He generally likes to expand. I do not. Particularly, okay? I could look to see, can I factor this again? Can I factor my numerator? Well, do I have a way that 2 and 11, or if I multiply together 22, would that in any way sum up to a 7? There's no way. Okay, so I could leave it just like that, but since you have to compare with his answers, your denominator, he wants to FOIL it back out. X squared minus 7 minus 1 is minus 8x plus 7. Okay, so this is your final answer. Let's look at another. It's a good idea for you to maybe even put all these in parentheses so you remember that these are binomials. Okay, my new denominator is going to have to be x plus 6 times x plus 4. My multiplier on my first fraction is going to have to be what I'm missing from the denominator, the x plus 4. So it's going to have to be x plus 4 times x plus 5. Put your subtraction in here. What am I missing? I've got an x plus 4 here in the second fraction, but I'm missing the x plus 6. So my second numerator will have to be x plus 6 times x minus 2. Again, I have to FOIL. X squared plus 9x plus 20. Be careful, I have to distribute this negative sign. So I'll get x squared, but now it'll be minus x squared. I'll get plus 6 minus 2, or plus 4x, but I have to distribute the negative sign. So it'd be now minus 4x. I get minus 12, distributing the negative sign, plus 12. Now you might want to do that in more than one step. And I would suggest that you go ahead and look. He's on his example problem on page 475. He writes out more than one step. So go ahead and look at that if this is becoming confusing to you. Between the two of them, you should be able to follow. Okay? Now, x squared minus x squared cancels out. 9x minus 4x is 5x. 20 plus 12 is plus 32. And over the denominator, which I'll go ahead and FOIL out because he likes to. X squared plus 6x plus 4x is plus 10x. 6 times 4 is plus 24. You see how critical it is that you can factor and FOIL, distribute those out. Okay. So now let's look at, you're going to do, I think I've already told you, but 11.5. Oops, I'm sorry. So that's going to be your homework. I'm going to actually just continue on a little bit longer and give you several even examples. Okay, so these will be more examples out of the homework. It says, first off, for problems 1 through 10, I'll do number 2. It says, first add, then subtract. So we have 7 over 6x and 2 over 11x. My common denominator, or my least common multiple, will be 6 times 11, or 66x. Okay. So, 66x. I have a 6x, so I need to multiply 7 times 11. And if I'm going to add them, I've got 11x in the second one, and so I'm going to multiply by 6. So that's 7 times 11, I'll put it that way. And I need a 2 times 6 here to get the 66x. So that becomes 77 plus 12, or 89. Oh, 89 over 66x. Okay. Make sure, once you've added, you might be able to cancel. Could I divide by 2? Could I divide by 3? No. Could I divide by 11? No. So this is finished. To do the subtraction, I do the same thing. I'd have 77 minus 12 over 66x. And that would be 65 over 66x. No canceling there either. Let's move to a couple more. We already have a common denominator, and so there's nothing to do but add the numerators and put it over the denominator. That's a nice and easy one. Let's look at something like, let's look at 22. The common denominator between 6 and 3 is going to be 6. I only have one z in either one, so that will be my common denominator. No change in the first one, first fraction. In the second fraction, I have 3z. I need to multiply by 2. So 2 times 2 is 4, and that will be 9 over 62. Make sure you can't cancel. You cannot in this case. And that's the answer there. Let's look at another. My least common denominator, let's see, this one is going to be 2 times 3. and this one is going to be 2 to the third. So my least common multiple will be 2 to the third times 3. That will be 8 times 3, or 24. Okay. 6 goes into 24 4 times. That's my multiplier here. 8 goes into 24 3 times. That's my multiplier here. And what I'm thinking is times the binomial. Okay. Now what we'll do is we'll distribute and gather like terms. Okay, remember that unless they're the same, okay, you need to be able to factor these denominators to be able to identify what's the least common. So I'm going to factor this by a 2, and I'm going to get 3x minus y. I'm going to factor this by a 3 and get 3x minus y. So my least common multiple, or my common denominator, will be 2 times 3, or 6 times 3x minus y. I would not distribute it back at this point. I would leave it like that for a while and only distribute at the end, because when I leave it like that, I can identify easily what my multiplier is going to have to be for the numerators. I've already got a 3x minus y, I've already got a 2, so I'm only missing the 3. 2 times 3 is 6. That's my multiplier there. In the second one, I've got the 3x minus 3. I've got a 3, but I need a 6, so my multiplier there is 2. Hopefully these are looking easier and easier for you. Multiplying then the numerator, I'm going to get 15 minus, that would be 3 times 5, minus 3 times 2, or 6. 15 minus 6 is 9, over 6 3x minus y. Now this is a good problem because there's one more step I have to do. I have to divide a 3 out of both of these, or cancel a 3. So that ends up with 3 over 2 times 3x minus y. And again, to recognize that in his answers, you'll probably have to distribute that. Okay? So I think that gives you several to start with, and again, we will be going over several more, and once you have next tape, and once you have corrected, if there are some that you really can't figure out, and maybe I'll go over them next time or whatever, just shoot me, don't forget, shoot me that text. Oops. So after you've done all your problems, if you can get yours to work, go ahead and shoot me the text. All you have to do is say the lesson number. Focus here. 1357. There we go. Text. Okay. You might just say Algebra 1, 11.5, number 52, number 53, whatever. And you let me know who you are. And then I can make sure that I work that problem out on the next tape. Okay, so that's my request for you. Identify yourself, identify the course, identify the lesson, and identify the problem. And I'll be sure to follow through with that. Okay, have a great day.